Today we're going to do the second chapter of Indian economics. Indian economy from 1950 to 1990. We have learnt that on the eve of independence, Indian economy was completely underdeveloped. After 200 years of British rule and their exploitative policies, India finally got freedom on 15th August 1947. It was necessary to reconstruct the backward and stagnant Indian economy into a developed economy. Therefore, the most important task before the government of the independent India was to decide the type of economic system which would be most suitable for India. Economic systems refer to an arrangement by which central problems of an economy are solved. What are economic systems? Economic systems refer to an arrangement by which central problems of an economy are solved. Okay. Now, what are the central problems? We've done that in microeconomics. What to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. The choices which are made in these three different questions of the economy, that is basically the central problem of an economy. Okay. Now, what are the types of economic system which are generally prevalent? We have capitalist economy, socialist economy, and a new economy, a very new form of economy, which is the mixed economy. Now, what is a capitalist economy? A capitalist economy is the one in which the means of production are owned, controlled, and operated by the private sector. A capitalist economy is the one in which the means of production are owned, controlled, and operated by the private sector. Production is done mainly for earning profits. So the central problems, what are the central problems? What, how, and for whom to produce are solved through the market forces of demand and supply. So under the capitalist economy, the three central problems are solved in the following manner. What to produce? Under this system, only those goods are produced that can be sold profitably either in the domestic or in the foreign market. How to produce? Goods are produced using cheaper techniques of production. In case of cheap labor, labor-intensive methods will be used, and in case of cheap cost capital intensive technique of will be used, which means where labor is very expensive, capital intensive technique will be produced. Now, in for whom to produce, in a capitalist society, goods produced are distributed among people not on the basis of their needs but on the basis of their income or purchasing power. This means that a sick person will be able to get medicine only when he can afford to buy it, otherwise not even if there is an urgency. Okay. On the other hand, socialist economy is the one in which the means of production are owned, controlled, and operated by the government. Under socialist economy, the three central problems of the economy are solved in the following manner. What to produce? In a socialist society, the government decides what to produce in accordance with the needs of the society. How to produce? The government decides how the goods are to be produced. For whom to produce? Distribution under socialism is supposed to be based on what people need and not what they can afford to purchase. A socialist nation provides free health care to citizens who need it. And the best, though we have a mixed economy, in Kerala we have a socialist economy, a socialist government. So there you'll find this kind of a system more. Okay. Now we come to mixed economy. Mixed economy is the place where you have the both goods of capitalists and socialist economies. So a mixed economic system refers to a system in which the public sector and the private sector are allotted their respective roles for solving the central problems of the economy, which means in the mixed economy you'll find the coexistence of public sector, which is the government sector, and private sector. In mixed economy, the government and the market together solve the three central problems of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. The private sector provides whatever goods and services it can produce well, and the government provides essential goods and services which the market fails to do. India adopted the mixed economy. Now, why did it adopt? Actually, the basic reason was political, because after the Second World War, the entire world got divided into two blocks: capitalist bloc headed by USA and socialist bloc headed by USSR, and there were two major blocks, and there was a Cold War kind of a situation in the world. Now the new third world countries were aligning themselves with either of the two blocks, but alignment would mean that you were the economy, the third world economy, was succumbing to the power of either socialism or capitalism, which was a basic threat for their newfound independence. So Indian economy was intelligent enough not to make enemies with either of the blocks. So they decided to have a non-aligned treaty, non-alignment. Okay, now what is this non-alignment? Not to align with either of the blocks and not to create enmity with either of the blocks. But though, having been said that, Indian government, Nehru secretly was supporting socialism. So he had socialistic ideas, but he never publicly adopted socialism. So what he intelligently did was combined the goods of both the world, both the economies, and started a mixed economy where you will find both the features of capitalism and socialism. Okay. Now, though we had mixed economy, the major problems were done under economic planning, like in socialism. So we had plans which were in accordance with the government's plans and not with the private sector, which means it was more of social welfare than of profit motive. So you will find that from 1959 to 1990, though there was existence of private sector, importance was given and more power was given to the public sector. So after adopting the mixed economic system, the next important step for the government was to revive the poor, backward and stagnant economy inherited from the British rule. For the development of the Indian economy, it was necessary for the government to plan for the economy, and this is popularly known as economic planning. Economic planning, what is economic planning? Economic planning can be defined as making major economic decisions by the conscious decision of determinate authority on the basis of comprehensive survey of the economy as a whole. Again, economic planning can be defined as making major economic decisions by the conscious decision of a determinate authority on the basis of comprehensive survey of the economy as a whole. The Industrial Policy Resolution of 1948 and the Directive Principles of the Indian Constitution assigned a leading role to the public sector. Private sector was also encouraged to be part of the plan efforts. To make economic planning effective, the Government of India set up Planning Commission in 1950 with the Prime Minister as the chairman, and still he is the chairman. The purpose of the commission was to carefully assess the human and physical resources of the country and to prepare the plans for the effective use of resources. The Planning Commission fixed the planning period for 5 years. So that is why we call it as a 5-year plan, which began the era of 5-year plans. Okay. What is a plan? Just a few things. Plan is a document showing detailed scheme, program and strategy worked out in advance for fulfilling an objective. And duration of the plan in India was 5 years. Okay, so we had 5-year planning, and there were different goals, common goals of each 5-year plan. Okay, though there were specific goals also, objectives also, but each of the plan had some common goals. Okay, now what were these common goals? The first common goal was growth. So each 5-year plan was directed towards growth of the economy. Okay, the stagnation during the British rule forced the planners to make economic growth as the first and the foremost objective of Indian plans. Now, what does growth mean? It actually simply means, if in simple words, it means to increase the country's capacity to produce, okay, goods and services. So what was growth meant? The growth in Indian economy meant increase in national income. Okay, so growth implied either a larger stock of productive capital or a larger size of supporting service like transport and banking, or an increase in the efficiency of productive capital and service. A good indicator of economic growth was GDP. Okay, so you all know what GDP is. Okay, the second major goal of all plans was modernization. Okay, now this word was very favorite to Jawaharlal Nehru, modernization. Okay, what is modernization? Adoption of new technology and change in social outlook. That was what modernization meant in this. So Indian planners had always recognized the need of modernization for society to raise the standard of living of people. And as I said, modernization included adoption of new technology. So it aimed to increase the production of goods and services through use of new technology. Like your green revolution, that was started by introduction of the new technology in farming. And then the second aspect of modernization was change in social outlook. So modernization also required change in the social outlook, like gender empowerment. Now it was specifically seen that unless both the genders contributed to the economy, there was no kind of improvement in the economy. And earlier, before independence, women were not very participative in any of the economic activities. But after this kind of an outlook, women also started contributing towards production. Okay, third aspect is self-reliance. Okay, now actually we had started off with self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency meant that we will not be dependent on any of the economies for our needs. We will produce whatever we want in the economy itself. But as we proceeded on with the production, we very quickly realized that it was practically impossible to produce everything. So for certain things we had to rely on some of the economies, like the newest of the technologies could not be produced in India in the initial stages of our independence. So then quickly we turned over to self-reliance. And what is self-reliance? Self-reliance was basically relying on self for major productions, and for other things which could not be produced, only for those things we would rely on other economies. Okay, so self-reliance under Indian conditions means overcoming the needs of external assistance. In other words, it means to have development through domestic resources. So you would find this was basically you may not have seen that particular era where everything was in the market was Indian, domestically produced. So the Coca-Cola which you are having now, the Pepsi which you are having now, was not there. This was only after 1991 that you could get it, and before 1978. But the Coca-Cola was Campa Cola, which was domestically produced. We had Thumbs Up, we had Gold Spot, and all these beverages were domestically produced and replicas of the foreign made goods. Okay, so like your shampoo, you have Dove and all, these are basically foreign goods. So earlier we had Halo and all these, we had shampoos, but domestically produced shampoos. You may ask your parents about it. That was a very different era. We had things, but we did not have too many choices, because all of the things were domestically produced. Now you name it and you have it, okay, at the click of a mouse. So then that was not the situation before 1991. So 1950 to 1990, the entire economy was different. It wasn't like what you have today. Okay, so we were talking about self-reliance. So self-reliance, as I said, under Indian economic conditions meant overcoming the need of external assistance. That means a development through domestic resource. To promote economic growth and modernization, the 5-year plan stressed on the use of own resources in order to reduce dependence on foreign countries. The policy of self-reliance was considered necessary because of two reasons: to reduce foreign dependence and to avoid foreign interference. Okay. The fourth major goal, common goal, was equity. Okay, now equity and not equality, there is a difference, and those who do sociology will be able to understand what is the difference between equity and equality. Equality means irrespective of anything, everything would be equally distributed. Okay, but equity would mean that we would push more of the economically backward more, and uplift them more, so that they are, I'll just give you a simple diagram. Okay, this is equality. This is equality. Okay, so everything is given equally. Okay, equity meant this is equity. Okay, so I don't know whether you are able to understand the difference, and this is self. If you are justifying, you will understand the difference between equality and equity. So the objective of growth, modernization, and self-reliance by themselves may not improve the kind of life which people are living. So it is important to ensure that benefits of economic prosperity are availed by all the sections, rich and poor. In addition to the objective of growth, modernization, and self-reliance, equity was also important. According to equity, every Indian should be able to meet his or her basic needs: food, house, clothing, education, health care, and inequality in the distribution of wealth should be reduced. So equity aimed to raise the standard of living of all people and promote social justice. Okay, so growth, modernization, self-reliance, equity. Okay. The other section of the chapter, which is agriculture, how we dealt with agriculture, will be done in the next video. So this video I'm going to end.